Good evening, I'm Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. It's official, Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. It came on the second night of the DNC as delegates cast their votes from locations across the nation due to the pandemic. Hosted by actress Tracee Ellis Ross, the night straddled themes of national security and presidential accountability. Speakers included Republican Colin Powell, Cindy McCain, the widow of Senator John McCain, and former Presidents Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton, as well as Biden's wife, Jill.
There are those who want to tell us that our country is hopelessly divided, that our differences are irreconcilable. But that's not what I've seen over these last few months. We're coming together and holding on to each other. We're finding mercy and grace in the moments we might have once taken for granted. We're seeing that our differences are precious and our similarities infinite. We have shown that the heart of this nation still beats with kindness and courage. That's the soul of America Joe Biden is fighting for now.
Biden's running mate Kamala Harris is expected to be nominated tonight. Former President Barack Obama will give the keynote address. Well, Montgomery and Prince George's counties ask Maryland for more ballot drop boxes ahead of the upcoming election. Montgomery, which would normally get 2 or 3 boxes, is asking for 40. Prince George's is requesting an additional 36. Leaders say the request is due directly to news of a potential slowdown of mail service. Typical security measures for drop boxes include video surveillance, locks, tamper-resistant seals, and chain of custody logs that are completed each time ballots are collected. Information about the exact placement of the ballot boxes is expected to be released soon. Well, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy has announced that he'll pause recent changes to the Postal Service until after the November elections. Still, more than a dozen attorneys general, including Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh, have filed a lawsuit in federal court to overturn the changes DeJoy wants to make. Frosh says that the lawsuit will still go forth because the U.S. Postal Service acted outside of its authority when it implemented changes called for by DeJoy. The suit argues that any changes must first be submitted to the Postal Regulatory Commission, and that did not happen. Frosh says 6 high-speed letter sorting machines have already been taken out of Maryland postal facilities. The Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights says DeJoy's reversal is a step in the right direction, but says he has offered no commitment to rectify harms his actions have already done. A coalition joins efforts in Maryland to combat racial environmental inequities. It's just one of many ways since the nationwide protests that groups are trying to address systemic racism.
What I've found over the last 4 decades is that race is the most important factor in determining where locally unwanted land uses are located.
Dr. Bullard says poverty is not what determines where industrial sites are located. The distinguished professor from Texas Southern University has written numerous books on environmental racism.
I did a book in 1990 called Dumping in Dixie, Race, Class, and Environmental Quality. And in that book, I looked at where landfills, incinerators, chemical plants, solid waste facilities, toxic waste facilities, and found that it was not land values, it was not whether or not people had high concentration of poverty, it was race.
Yesterday, a coalition of Maryland organizations and community leaders sent a letter to Governor Larry Hogan. The letter cites what they say are failures by the Maryland Department of the Environment to address environmental justice issues.
I don't know that people generally understand that racism is not an individual thing all the time. Often enough, it's built within the system. And in this case, there are all kinds of outcomes all over the state that are unfair and particularly egregious, that burden communities that are particularly at risk, like communities of color.
Patuxent Riverkeeper Fred Tutman is concerned that the industrial pollution local communities of color face has contributed to high COVID-19 cases among minorities.
I think COVID has really illustrated that because of the death count. Frankly, Prince George's County is a hot spot. Ironically, I live on the border of two counties. The county next to me, Anne Arundel, has a far lower incidence rate than the next door county where I live, Prince George's County, which is a predominantly African-American county. So I think COVID brought to focus where people didn't really realize necessarily this was conceptually like, yeah, we know that this is a disparity issue, but COVID has really driven it home.
The group has provided a list of 23 solutions to the governor, including an environmental justice plan. The coalition is also calling for a permanent working group within the state's Environmental Justice and Sustainability Commission. The work group would study and mitigate the effect of cumulative pollution faced by low-income populations and communities of color.
Put the knife down! 2 out of 10, step them up. Got one with a knife refusing to get down on the ground. Get on the ground!
Well, this is the video of the fatal shooting of a 30-year-old man by Montgomery County Police in May. Investigators say he was armed with a knife. The death of Finan Burhi is one of the deaths tallied in a new ACLU report about fatal police shootings. Titled "The Other Epidemic: Fatal Police Shootings in the Time of COVID-19," the report concludes that even during the pandemic, with fewer people traveling outside of their homes, police continue to fatally shoot people at the same rate in 2020 as they did in the same period from 2015 to 2019. As of June 30th of this year, police fatally shot 511 people. According to the report, 46% of fatal police shootings kill white people, who account for 60% of the population. 24% of fatal police shootings kill black people, who make up 13% of the U.S. population. Well, Maryland health officials report 414 new COVID-19 cases today. That's the lowest number of new cases since early July. The number of infections has fallen below 600 for the fourth consecutive day, but 11 people have died over the last 24 hours. Meantime, officials continue to remind young people to take the virus seriously. Maryland has recorded 18,000 cases among young adults ages 20 to 29.
We all want to get back to what quote-unquote normal used to be. But I think we just need to make sure that the messages that are getting out, particularly to young people, particularly to children and young adults, that you are not invincible to this virus. And that's not meant to scare people, but it's meant to say that you can get infected. And we are seeing people, even young people, who are ending up with severe disease. We are seeing young people who are ending up in ICU, and we are seeing young people who are dying from this virus.
21 Maryland residents in the 20 to 29 age group have died of COVID. A Suitland father has been indicted for murder and child abuse in the death of his 6-year-old daughter. The suspect is 40-year-old Emmanuel Humes. When authorities responded to his home back on May 10th, they found the daughter, Abigail, unresponsive. According to autopsy reports, the child had broken ribs and internal trauma. The local teachers union is again calling on internet providers to close the digital divide. The new school year begins soon, and the union wants to make sure all students have access to the internet. The Prince George's County Educators Association is planning a caravan and rally today. The organization wants Comcast and Verizon to provide free internet access and hotspots to students and educators. County residents and community groups continue to give back to their neighbors in need. This Stuff a Bus event today is just one example. Members of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority had a caravan of cars dropping off school supplies in Largo this afternoon. While county students are beginning the new school year virtually, many still need supplies. It's not every day that a 7-year-old uses his savings to make care packages for persons in need. That's exactly what Kavanaugh Bell from Gaithersburg is doing. He's using his money and donations to make care packs, which he and volunteers are delivering to seniors and families. So far, they've helped about 8,000 people. Bell has also raised money to buy meals for students, launched a community pantry in April, and donated items to the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. He started making care packages in March because he wanted to help his grandmother.
Coronavirus hit and my grandma had to walk to the store, but I didn't want her to because I didn't want her to catch coronavirus. So that's why I made 70 care packs to give to her and her friends.
Bell is also sending supplies to other kids so that they can make their own care packs for those in need. For more information, visit coolanddope.com. The Prince George's County Library System's daily virtual summer series features events for the whole family. Tonight, Byron Lane, an award-winning author, playwright, and actor, will discuss his debut book called A Star is Bored. It's a fictional novel about the life of a personal assistant to a movie star. Lane says he was inspired to write the book after working as Carrie Fisher's assistant.
It was a really special time in my life. I learned a lot from her, and maybe there are things that I can pass along. And Carrie used to always say, take your broken heart and go make art. And so I really tried to do that with this book. And I tried to capture the spirit of our time together, the spirit of working with someone you really enjoy spending time with, and the struggles that come along with that kind of friendship, and the joys as well. And so I really was inspired by all that. And that's the result. A Star is Bored.
And the event will take place virtually tonight at 8 p.m. For details, visit pgcmls.info. And that is all for us this evening. Thanks for watching. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place. Good night.
For the latest information on COVID-19 in Maryland, visit the State Health Department website. That's health.maryland.gov. Again, health.maryland.gov. Click the link to the COVID-19 information portal. There you'll find all the latest information about coronavirus. You'll find daily updates on cases and fatalities. Answers to questions about testing and the governor's stay-at-home order are available as well. For specific information about Prince George's, visit princegeorgescountymd.gov. That's princegeorgescountymd.gov. The site offers information about local services for residents and businesses. There's a link for COVID-19 relief donations. Also, food pantry locations are listed. And if you have any questions, call the county COVID-19 hotline at 301-883-6627. That's 301-883-6627.